Hello, handsome. Oh, it's on. Sorry. G'day, hi, welcome. Okay, my room is a mess. Just forgive me on that one. But I've been very busy this week, and one thing I've been busy with, which was a lot of fun, is I was out, and for the first time in about 20 years, I played a mandolin live on stage, and I played my own mandolin. Now, I've had another mandolin before, and we're going to put this so you get you guys a good... My room is really messy, but anyway, you'll have to... This is my kind of like my studio slash my everything room, and this is my cat's bed. That's why it's like that. You know, I've been relocated to the basement while the cats sleep on the upstairs bed. Yeah, but anyway, what I've got for you today is a bit of a review. I won't be playing it too much. Well, maybe I'll sit over here and I'll do it this way. It's just we'll look at the case first. Here we go, and what we are looking at is an M20 Epiphone mandolin. Now, it's not an Epiphone, it's the Epiphone. And yes, I left the price tag on it. Let me tell you the story about this. Okay, I've had it for a little while now, and it's a very nice A-style mandolin, and I will be talking... I did some stuff on the mandolins, talking about them the other night, but I want... This is just solely for this one. So maybe I'll take this pick for now. It's not the best pick, but oh, it's still relatively in tune. You can get the idea. It projects quite well. It's not that muddy. It's a very nice mandolin. So how do I buy a mandolin? Well, I simply just do this. And I listen for the boom. I listen for the muddiness. This one, these strings are deadified on this thing. I don't know how old the strings are. Around Christmas time, I got a little bit of money, about 150 bucks, right, for Christmas. And I didn't want to spend it all in one place, and I held on to that money for forever and a day, because right now time's a little bit harder for me right now financially. So what happened was a couple of years back, I had an Oscar Schmidt A-style mandolin, much like this, almost the same color and everything. This is kind of a classic tobacco burst kind of mandolin, and we'll get better close-ups and stuff like that here. And it had a pickup in it, which was nice. And I bought it for like, I think 200 bucks new from, at the time was called Songbird Music. And now they're called Spaceman Music, right? And I sold that mandolin to my sister for 60 bucks. I'd refinished it and I'd done some stuff to, kind of get some more sound out of it, whatever. And it performed okay, but if you played that thing for more than an hour, your fingers were bleeding. The action on it was kind of horrid. I will tell you this about any mandolin you pretty much buy, you're probably going to have to get it set up. Particularly on here. Usually you can't lower the action enough, and usually the nut's always too high. Particularly on the cheaper ones. Okay, so now this is an Epiphone M20. They don't sell this model anymore. It's now the M30. Probably exactly the same. I haven't tried an M30. I don't know if there's any improvements, but you got your typical, looks like a rosewood fingerboard, maple tops, mahogany sides. That might be mahogany on the back, but that's definitely a maple top anyway. So you got that nice, brilliant... One thing I like about this one is it's not that buzzy. I was doing yeah, so when you're picking a mandolin, you basically have four choices of mandolin in this size. You can get into bazookies and all that stuff later on, but we won't talk about bazookies right now. So I have this mandolin about 20 years ago, the Oscar Schmidt, and it was, I think, a sub-company of Washburn. It was cheap. It was the cheapest one I could get. I didn't know if I was going to stick with it. That's why I bought, the cheapest one. But I fell in love with it. Like the mandolin is a very fun instrument to play. A lot of guitar players like myself will transition to mandolins. And, as a different instrument. Can you play an entire 3-hour show, like 3 sets, or, roughly an hour long each, just with the mandolin? If you set it up, yes. I used to do 8 to 10 songs, which is pretty much a set, with the mandolin. And then I'd switch to the guitar after, which was really cool because people are not ready to hear this instrument. It just blows them away. They're not used to it. So I sold that one a long time ago, and at the time I had a little bit of extra cash, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to hang on, and I'm going to upgrade from a cheap mandolin to, I'm looking at something. Obviously, it had to be amplified or had a pickup in it. Didn't have to be an active pickup, but it had to have at least a passive pickup in it. I said, okay, well, I'm going to spend up there, like not huge money. Wasn't going to buy like a Gibson F5 or something like that, but I was going to buy something, probably in the $800 to $1,000 range, right? So I go into all like Long and McQuaid, Steve's Music, any music store I'd go into, and I'd try all the mandolins. And when you get into that kind of like below $500, that's where the mandolins are really hit and miss. Now, when I went in and I found the one with the pickup in it, it was like, okay, well, I sold that other pickup, and then I had enough money to buy it. There was one at $149 with the pickup in it, and it played just as bad as my other one. Like it was, really hard. And even if you took it to a Luther, it would still be, to put it that much money to get a proper setup. It might be worth it, might not. But it was boomy. It was what I mean by boomy is it had a bit of a muddier sound to it. It wasn't quite as crisp as you would like. So, do you want to put money into an instrument that's not quite there? That's the problem with the cheaper instruments. You're usually better off spending a little bit more and getting something better because you're going to stick with it anyway. But I screwed up and I sold the instrument before I replaced it with another one. Now, that's what that other mandolin taught me is don't sell an instrument until you've replaced it with the instrument that you wanted to upgrade to. So at least you have it as a backup. So for quite a few years now, about 4 or 5 years, I haven't played a mandolin at all. I didn't have one. I sold it off to my sister. And I don't want that one back. She still has it and whatever. I'm okay with that. But I wanted a new mandolin. So I go into this music store called the Old Mill. It's up in Pembroke. If you're wondering why I'm scratching and doing this, I'm not spastic. I'm basically, there's tons of mosquitoes in here and they're biting me all over the place. I'm bleeding. Anyway. So I'm testing out I want an F-style mandolin next. But you got 4 choices. This is what's known as an F-hole mandolin in an A-style. So this is an A-style body, as you can see, right? And basically it takes it from the A-frame-ish kind of look to it. That's why they call it that. This will come into basically 2 types of sound holes. You're going to have a sound hole like this, which are the F sound holes. And you will have a round sound hole here, typically. Okay? You bastard. Sorry for that blood and guts scene there, but I got him good. Get your carcass off me. Anyway, this here is a good mandolin for the middle of the road. This style of mandolin, usually the A-style mandolins are the cheaper ones. The ones with the fancy scroll on it, right here, and a little bit more of a horn here, are known as the F-style mandolins. But with the A-style mandolins, you're going to get 2 choices. So you're going to have like a sound hole here, like a guitar. And sometimes it'll be oval, sometimes it'll be round, whatever. And that mandolin will be the best mandolin for chords. Somebody who's going to be, like, say, singing and playing the mandolin at the same time. Not a lot of picking, more like, like that. And you will get just a little bit more projection out of it, and you'll get a warmer and more, a warmer sound. Right? But if you want to be in the middle of the road, you get the more traditional one like this. And it'll give you good chords. My favorite chord on the mandolin, the A minor. And then D minors. And there's a whole bunch of nice chords on this. These are great instruments. Now, if you're going to be picking... what? The chords do well here, and the picking does well here. So the F holes give you a better picking, note for note kind of clarity, right? Whereas the F hole or the big hole will give you better chording sound. This is the middle road, because for this slight difference in body shape between an A style and a F style mandolin, these tend to be the more boomier ones. Boomier meaning more bassy, whatever, and more warmer for chords. Where the F holes give you a little bit more mid-range rather than overall just warm sounding, which makes it better for clear picking. That's your middle of the road. Now, same holds true with the F style, only with the F style, they're geared more towards the, and they're very, very clear note for note. Not quite as juicy sounding for the, although we're splitting hairs here. I mean, you can get a great mandolin in any type. But the the F style mandolins have the same thing. You can get one with the hole here, and one with the, the most numerous you're going to find is with the F holes, which are pretty much bluegrass specials. Is where like stuff like that. Like I'm no Bill Monroe or Marty Stewart, but you get the idea. That's what those guys use. I love the look of the F style with the scrolling on. But don't get me wrong, I love a good A style mandolin too. But typically the A style mandolins are going to be usually a little bit cheaper. But there's maybe I'll go into a part 2 here because I got a lot to say. No, I'll make it all into one video. That's what I'll do. There's lots to talk about for mandolins. The other thing is that the mandolin frets and everything like that, they're all typically finer frets, so you get more sustain, more resonance and stuff like that. So you can look at different types of frets. You usually don't get jumbo frets on that because they're so close together anyway. And you can get, this one is, how many octaves? 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there we go. So it's like, there we go. So we got a 20 fretter here. So, but some will have 19 on the fingerboards. I've seen some that will have like a little, again, usually these are the more fancy upper end. I think they go up to 21 or 24 frets. I don't think you can get 30. Maybe, But so you're going to get a lot of variations of mandolins. Now, when I'm looking for a mandolin, obviously everything is unplugged, right? And you walk in the store, and what you're listening for is that boominess, So I just kind of like, without touching it, right? It's got a nice clear ring. It's not muddy, it's not boomy. Boomy, you'll understand as soon as you get on stage what boomy means. It's just like, it's like the instrument just sounds like somebody like put a wet sponge in there. It can get really, especially on the low G. Like this is a very nice G. So every note is nice and clean on this, which blew me away because when I tell you the price of this thing, now new, so I picked up, they had, I think, probably 5 or 8 mandolins in that store. And I was in there and I'm like, okay, well, I'll try it. Now I'll walk by like a guitar and I'll just go electric, acoustic, it don't matter, a mandolin, a violin, and I just listen. Nice sustain there. I don't know if the camera's still picking up. Still going. There. And so sonically, this is there's no deads on this instrument. Now, the next thing I'm going to check. Oh. Got one, but that's not bad. when you get into the wound strings, this is where you really got to do your listening. And the ultimate test is the G. Now, I'm not going to ask you what you heard. I'm going to ask you what you didn't hear. What was something you didn't hear there? I'll do it one more time. I'll do it on the G just to make the point. What are you not hearing? Buzzing. Yeah. So, knew these things were about $250, $300 Canadian. I don't know what they would have been in the States. Probably somewhere around that. So, M20. For that price. My Oscar Schmidt buzzed everywhere. You know, not everywhere. It was manageable, but it will be very audible when you're on stage, whether you're acoustically mic'd or you got a pickup. That's what you're listening for. So it's not a boomy mandolin. It's crisp and it's clear. It's got lots of drive. Every note. You can hear every note, right? Used. $199.99. With the tax, it was $220. Yeah. Came with the strap, came with the case. And the case is cheap, El Cheapo. And I don't know anything about the previous owner that had it or whatever. It definitely, this is an instrument that's been played. But for that price, this thing, the action on this thing is just fantastic. So I don't know if Epiphone sends them out the factory this way. Like, I mean, I could play this thing for hours on end and it does not hurt my fingers. Now, what I don't know is, did the previous owner have work done to it? Now, looking at the nut, you can't really see it very well, but this is obviously probably circa 1992 because it says Gibson on the truss rod cover. Yeah, there's a truss rod in these little guys, believe it or not. So in 91, 92, Epiphone, which was a South American, Brazil, don't quote me if I'm wrong, Brazil had Epiphone. Gibson bought them out, and then all the, you know, you see all the great Epiphone guitars that they pulled out. I've had quite a few Epiphone guitars and instruments. I'm a huge fan of Gibson. I'm a huge fan of Ibanez. I'm a phenomenally huge fan of Epiphone. Bang for the buck wise. I know there are crappy Epiphones out there too, but they really got this mandolin right. So if the M30 is better than the M20, I would be very, very blown away. So I don't know the year. I don't think it says the year on it. But again, if it has Gibson on it, then it's definitely going to be older. But $200. And the next one that played almost as well was about $500 hanging on that wall. This was just, I picked, like I went like this. Like I went, the other ones, okay, that one sounds good. That one sounds good. Like, that's not bad. Okay, well, this one's worth pulling off the wall and playing. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I picked up the other ones. The one at $500 didn't play as nice as this one. I was like, but that never happens with a mandolin. Like, I mean, I'm not like, yeah, really, you know. My bad playing is not, you know, like, I'm a guitar player. I'm not a professional mandolin player. But whoever had this, either they had it set up perfectly, and I mean, the action, the neck is perfectly straight. The intonation is excellent on this. The action is just fantastic on this thing. Bends and stuff like that, you don't really bend on a short scale mandolin like this, but you could if you were really... But the fact that I can bend this one, I couldn't do that with my old one. It was just impossible. The tension was so high on it, and that's up to 440 pitch. So well, it should be at 440 pitch here. The other thing I want to say about a mandolin, yeah, so we're at 440. is get yourself a special tuner for a mandolin, because here's what happened. Okay, I'm going to show you something and to explain it as a visual. When you get a mandolin, okay, you're going to get your guitar tuner for 25 bucks or whatever. I've had this guitar tuner since the 90s. It still works on the beast. And this guitar tuner can do quite a bit. It really can. But it will register the pitch but not the octave. So what am I talking about? Think of this as a regular guitar tuner. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with the A. Okay, now I'm going to hit you with the second octave. This is first octave, that's second octave. That does not do 2 octave. Therefore, when you go to tune your mandolin with a guitar tuner, it's going to register the note, but it will not register the octave. You'll be tuning it, it's going to be like super low and the strings are going to be flapping, like it will not detune that much. So you need to get a mandolin that could, or a tuner that can actually, violin, mandolin, same pitch, same tuning, same scale length roughly. You can get away with it. So here's an A on the, where's my A? Oh, sorry. Here's the A on pitch pipe. Now let's play both of them together and see if you can pick out the octaves. Very difficult. So the nice thing is I know these are 2 in. They're both in. So here's my guitar. Now this pipe I think is actually a little bit sharp. Watch the tuner, hopefully it'll do it. Yep. So okay, it was pretty close. Now watch what happens when I go the octave up. Watch the tuner. Wait, gotta wait for it. See, it doesn't know what to do. Needles all over the place. It's like, am I high, am I low? It doesn't know. So hopefully that, and that's what'll happen. The needle will just bury itself from one side to the other, and it's like you'll be tuning. It's like, why isn't this thing picking up? That's what it is. You're in the second octave. You're like in the second octave range. So get yourself a tuners. Nobody ever talks about that when it comes to mandolins and stuff like that, and violins. And then you find out the hard way. But $200. Here we go. $200. I had to kick in the other 50. It was my $150. I ended up collecting about $150 from Christmas. And I picked this up about 2 months ago. I could not resist buying it. I had a little bit of work coming in, so I was like, okay, well, I'll risk it. But I played it on stage for the first time 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago? Yeah, 2 nights ago. And it was the first time I played on stage with a mandolin in about 20 some odd years. And just a 3-song jam night, which I ended up getting really technically 5 tunes. Although I lost the pot on my this one there. I had the wrong pick. I had my really stiff pick, and when I started getting into the I can't even remember how to play. And I hadn't played this in a long time either. You can see how, like, when I used to play that on the other mandolin, that was really, really muddy. It was really boomy, especially on the G. If the G would ring out, it would the notes would sound, when it's boomy, it sounds dead. This thing has a really nice pitch. Now, mind you, it wasn't the best sounding mandolin on the wall. There was one that was like $450, and it sounded better than the $1,000 one. You like violins, mandolins, you pick, don't shop by price. Shop by budget, of course. I mean, if you're not a millionaire, you're not a millionaire. I get that. But shop based upon the sound and the playability. I will take playability over sound any day on a mandolin, unless it's a really horrible sound, you know what I mean? Because if you can't play the mandolin well and you can't fret it and can't chord it, it's starting to hurt your fingers. That's the problem with the cheap mandolins. Now, getting a cheap mandolin, getting it set up, wow. Again, I know you can get mandolins for like $50 off of Amazon, but you're not going to get Yeah, well, maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I know some people get the, they do these really cheap and mandolins, and like they all sound. They're like, oh, this sounds good, but in comparison to what? You compare one mandolin to the other, and it's the overall package that you're going to be like. I mean, my fingers actually feel good after playing this, and if you know what I'm talking about as a guitar player or a violinist or a string player of any sort, there's instruments you play and your fingers hurt after, and you can get tendonitis. This thing will give you tendonitis if you have to struggle to play it. If you have to really thrash on it and your hand's stiffening up. My hand doesn't stiffen up. Now, mind you, if you have the wrong pick in your hand, yeah, you'll get sloppy. You got to learn how to hang on the pick. It's really weird. Is I use these speed picks for certain things. Like, for example, if you want to really bring out a note, this is where you're going to have like a whole bunch of picks. So here's your typical floppy pick. Here's your Jazz 2 Dunlop. I've had these things for like since I was 15, and they're still not worn out yet. Gives you an idea how tough that pick is. So here's what it's going to sound. Whoop. Okay, so you can see it's got a juicy sound to it, really nice, right? But we want to really bring it out. You get the hard picks, but your hand stiffens up with these, so you have to learn how to hang on to these things with a death grip, but with finesse. I don't know if it's audible, but there's obviously you're going to get clear notes and more projection. So. So you can see how it's cleaner, but it loses a bit of that warmth, right? So when you're doing the strumming, I'll do the... Okay, switch picks. Lot smoother. So you can hear that little extra ambience, a little extra, same as you would get on an acoustic guitar. So why would I even bring that up? Well, again, if you want to get the picking angle of it, this is what happened to me the other night with the stiff pick. Stiff pick, can't speak. Okay, I threw the pick long before that. So when you're going to go fast with these, you're holding here. Okay, just so you know. Again, but the thing is my hand is not stressed at all. It looks like my fingers are going to catch fire, right? It sounds like my fingers are going to catch fire. That's what they were saying at the jam. Oh my God! Like get the fire extinguisher. His hands are going to catch on fire. So you got to learn how to relax with that. But you can't do that when you've got a really stiff bridge, a really high action, and you're forcing here and you're forcing this. It's like it's like that's how I'm holding this thing, literally. The problem you get is when your fingers start to sweat. So that will happen with your mandolin. Oh, and you can always, if you really want to dig into the mandolin, you can harness the thing to yourself too. It's nice to have an instrument light enough like that. But so picks, try a couple of mandolins, especially like I say with the F holes versus the round hole. Try them with, see. Then the stiff pick. So you can see how this one cleans up a lot better, but then you lose that warmth, that ambience, right? So when you want to sing along and really warm up the sound, use that. When you want to really stand out and get it out into the mid-range, use that. So that's just something nobody talks about. I thought it was a good idea to tell you that. But that said, this instrument, $200, it's worth it for me to put money into this instrument. Why? It's not the best sounding instrument, but how did it do live? Well, actually, I was quite impressed. Now, mind you, right there is, you can't see it, but my mic stand. I have an Shure SM58 on there. On the stage, I believe there were SM57s. They look a little different. They're a little flatter. They're kind of again, a jack of all trades mic, maybe slightly more geared towards recording, whereas as I'm talking, hey, that's how sensitive this thing is. It picks up. This is a good instrument. I get excited when I play this thing. When your voice is resonating in there and it's starting to ring the strings, you know this thing is just primed to go. But anyway, I was mic'd with the SM58s are a little more for vocals and stuff like that. So the SM57s actually are good for, miking. They don't quite have the same output, or the impedance or whatever. So they're okay for acoustic instruments, but not every acoustic instrument is easy to mic. So do you mic at the mandolin hole, whatever? I do find playing on an angle like this, kind of underneath the mic, seems to project better rather than putting the mic straight onto it. You play around with different mics. This one, I could play and sing without it mic'd. It's just I have to kind of lower the mic so it kind of splits the difference. So I'm singing over the mic, and this is just, picking up the boom coming out of the top hole. Right? So that tends to work very well. Now, it worked very well on stage. At first I thought it was the TV was left on, like as the hockey game was going. But actually, no, it's just the mics, because I had two mics on stage going and this wasn't a plugged-in instrument. It was actually picking up the audience, what cool part is there was actually some sing-along. So I did, did an Iron Maiden tune. And then I did Old Crow Medicine Show. Wagon Wheel. And then I finished it off with Clocks. See how the G is still nice and clear? But I mean, again, this isn't the nicest sounding mandolin in the world. But this thing was projecting to the back of the room, not solely acoustically, but it was clean to the back of the room. So when the mic was on it, it was clean enough that it wasn't so muddy that all you were hearing was this booming G. You were actually hearing a good, clear G at the back of the room, which meant it recorded fairly well. It wasn't as loud as I would like, but it blended well. It blended well. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping for a mandolin. And then, of course, I did that Copperhead Road. That little line there, I know I'm slightly out of tune here, but... excellent riff to test for boom. When I mean like that really boomy G, if you got a really muddy mandolin, that is going to expose it right there. And then listen for every instrument buzzes to a degree, but when you can get an instrument for $200 that's clean sounding, good fretwork, amazing playability, and again, I'm not a mandolin player. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? So if I can get that out of it, imagine what Marty Stewart could get out of it, or Bill Monroe. You know what I mean? Like, so there you go. Or somebody knows what they're doing. Yeah. So yeah, that should help you shopping for a mandolin. I know this video is going on a little bit long, and I'll wrap up pretty soon. But it's when people are looking for stuff, if you spent a half an hour or whatever it is watching this video, okay, and you got a few tips out of it that saved you $500,000, if you might find one of these better than $1,000 instrument if you get lucky, but you got to know what to listen for. And it's not, you're listening for what's not there and what is there. Yes, it's kind of confusing, but you're listening for buzzing. You're checking it for playability. Could you imagine yourself, if you pick up a mandolin, you're like, play the F chord, and you're like, oh my God, my finger's like bleeding. There is a little rattle in there somewhere, though. I think it's there's something went loose there. So I did notice that. You know, it's only certain notes that it does it. So that little quirks and quirks. Again, it is a used instrument. But other than that, that's the only thing I've picked out on this. I don't think it's a manufacturing. I think it's just this thing is probably 25, 30 years old by now. Who knows, right? I know it's been over a decade since they stopped making the M20s. So check out the M30s, see if they're as good. But but yeah, so that's just some tips. I'm very happy with this instrument. It's nice to be able to share how I buy an instrument, because you'll save you won't be as impressed and razzle dazzled by instruments easily if you start looking at the whole package. How does it play? Guitars are the same thing. You know, there's a lot of cool shaped guitars and whatever. But once you start like picking out, okay, this buzzes a lot more, then you're like, okay, well, it's cool to play in the music store, but I'm not going to waste my money on it. So when you're looking for a mandolin or something like that, hunt around. You might find a used one that's really, really good. My next style, I want 4-type mandolins eventually, you know, again, if I win the lottery or whatever. And I want the other ones because I've played, I must, you know, every mandolin I see, I pick it up and I play it if I can. So I've probably played 1,000 mandolins in my lifetime. Go into a music store, oh, here's a new one, try it. And that's how you really, you're going to find that one doesn't do everything. But the A style, like this is the middle one. This is the next one to the, would be the A style with the sound hole. That one's going to give you the most, you know, juicy chords or whatever. This one will give you right in the middle of the road of good picking, clear for soloing, and okay for chords. The F styles are both more meant for picking. But they can give you beautiful chords too. And it's just that when you compare the two, again, splitting hairs. You're completely splitting hairs. Because someone can say, well, I've had an F-style mandolin for years and I've chorded on it. It sounds great. What are you talking about? This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But what I'm saying is splitting, if you were to get the equivalent of each one of these, you would see the differences of what I'm talking about. That you know that if you have the sound hole, you're going to get a little more projection. It's going to be a louder mandolin. It's going to be probably deeper and more sustaining, you know what I mean? Kind of like a J200 acoustic guitar versus a Pollard guitar, you know what I mean? That's kind of like the comparisons you're doing. If you have the F holes, you know that it's better, going to be better, like I say, for the individual notes. And you could split the difference, you know, like maybe you want the F style one and you got the money for the F style ones, and you found one that plays really well, but you want to do more chords, so maybe you get the F hole and you split the difference, you know what I mean? So play around with them because they are different instruments. But as long as you get one that plays well, at least you can learn with it. If it's not the best sounding one, like I say, there was 2 or 3 other ones on the wall that sounded better than this one. But was it like night and day difference? No. But this one I found played pretty much the best out of all the ones in the store. Even the ones that were like, you know, $500, $700, $800. It just, maybe the guy had it set up. Maybe that was because it does look like this is a lot lower, but there's still a gap there. So it was probably taken down. So, but it was a good enough sounding instrument that they were able to get away with it. You know, that, you know, it was probably worth it to put the money into it. So, but if you find one that you like, don't get rid of it. Hang on to it, because these things are hard to find a good one. I mean, you can find a good one, but to find one that you really like. And it won't be based on price. It'll be just this thing plays so good. Like my fingers feel good. You know, it's like your hand's never burning. You know what I mean? Even with the fast playing, like it's very, very relaxed. Again, I got to clean up my playing, but it's not the mandolin, it's me. You know what I mean? Like, tap on yours. Very hard to do because you know you got very shallow frets there. But anyway, there we go. So we'll have another look at that. We'll wrap this up now. Hopefully I got some good tips in there. I know this is an excruciatingly long video. I will put it out, but it's really going to be for the mandolin connoisseurs out there or connoisseur wannabes. You know, it's like I want to be a connoisseur of a mandolin, but where do I start, right? Not bad for the price. Not bad for the price at all. But I was impressed how well it did live for an unmic'd instrument. If I get the right mic on this thing, yeah, it's gonna be a pretty good instrument. So anyway, there we go. One more flyby. Thanks for sticking around this long and tolerating me. The M20, probably going to be the best review you're ever going to see on the Epiphone Gibson by Gibson mandolin review. Yeah, they get a strap, case, and a few strings were left in there. But anyway, there we go. So that's my mandolin. I'm very happy to have one again. It would have to be a pretty good mandolin for me to get rid of that one. But I think what I'm going to do is the next mandolin I'm going to save up for is going to be an F style, because I want one so bad. I just love the look of them. And again, it's not always based on price. Sometimes there's these little tips here might not be the only tips out there. And again, if you're a very experienced mandolin player and you think I got something wrong or you think I missed something, put it down below for others to benefit from, because it's not just about saving the money. It's about the experience of playing an instrument that is really, really enjoyable. And you'll have it for years and years and years and years and years. So you could always buy the cheapest thing and just go whatever. But sometimes, like again, that's $200 from my cold dead hand. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to keep that for, and it was $200. And I got lucky. It doesn't mean you'll get lucky. Maybe you'll get luckier than me. But try them all. See what you come up with. You know, I love mandolins, and you got to try them all to really, and that's when you get a better gauge of what mandolin is going to work for you. Because you might pick that up and say, oh, I can't play this one. You know, it's not as bad as violins, where each violin is just a complete learning curve per violin. You know, it's like learning the violin, then learning the violin you're playing. You know, like they're not that mean to you, but they're quite forgiving to play. But like I say, if it hurts your hand to play it, save your money, spend a little more, or just try everything. You know, it's nice to have one that's mic'd, but I mean, you could buy an external pickup for it or whatever, and go that route too. So, which I think that one I definitely want to do with. But yeah, it just is what it is. I like them. Try as many as you can. Like I said, if you think I missed any tips that would help out particular newer mandolin buyers, again, it'll not only save them money, but they'll buy a mandolin they're going to be happy with. That's what the goal of this video is that you're going to be happy with it. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Make sure you hit that like button down below and the subscribe button. And yeah, there will be a lot more mandolin videos coming on. I'm sorry that it took me so long to get around to reviewing it. And yes, I did leave the price tag onto it. I forgot I left the price tag on it when I was on stage. The older guy, he's going to be turning 68 this Saturday after making this video. And he was like, oh yeah, Regis is a new mandolin. I like, how did he know it was a new mandolin? I didn't even tell him yet. But it's like, I forgot. Yeah, I left the price tag on there as a joke. And I was like, I was going to tell everybody, hey, look at the mandolin I got for $200. And it's like, well, I guess the cat's out of the bag now. And then everyone's like, anybody guess what the price was? I said $200. $199. There we go. $199.99. And $220 with the tax, Canadian. So I'm pretty happy with that. But anyway, yeah, you're going to see probably a lot more performances live with it. I don't think I'm going to do too many... like in the room here. I want to put the one I want to do, I call it Tale of Two Ships, and then I run it into Farewell to Nova Scotia. And I've done it years ago, so it's kind of it's like a 12-minute long tune when you do it this way. And I recorded it and stuff like that. And I want to redo it, and I want to do it live. I know the last time I did it live, people were just sitting there going, wow. You know what I mean? And I really, really enjoyed it because I really took them through a journey. And it was a 12-minute tune. It was like, okay, I'm going to only play you one song tonight, and that's it, you know, for the jam night or whatever. And then I incorporated that one, and what's the other one? Edmonds Fitzgerald on that one comes out very well. And the Clocks one came out pretty good too. I like how the Clocks come out. But I definitely got to get it mic'd up somehow. So, but anyway, there we go. So, like I say, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like, be true to yourselves, be true to others, always do the right thing, and keep picking. There we go. Have a great day.